guys, welcome back to another episode of Reef Ramble. I'm your host, Manny Katz, and today we've got a very special guest. Ben Deslins is the co-owner of Coffin Bay Spirits. Ben, alongside his life and work partner, Caro, have produced some of Australia's best gins using native produce that they harvest from their front yard, which is situated on the raw and rugged coastline on the west coast of the Eyre Peninsula in South Australia. I met Ben a few years ago in the surf, and I've collaborated with him and Caro on a couple of projects. If you're watching the video podcast version on Spotify or YouTube, you can see exactly what their process looks like during the first few minutes of the interview. We recorded this episode on beautiful Neo country and pay our respects to the traditional owners whose land both Ben and I live and work on. In this episode, we get into edible vegetation, harvesting seaweed from marine habitats in remote South Australia, oyster reef restoration, and more. Please enjoy this casual conversation with Ben Deslins, aka Desi.
Let's try some of these.
Nice. What do we got? What do we got here?
Have a guess.
Like seeds of some sort?
Yes. Whoa.
What is this?
So it's roasted seeds.
Is this local?
Yeah.
Did you collect this?
Yep. Yep.
So I guess, have you heard about the whole seeds for snapper project?
Yeah.
Are you just cooking them up?
You look a bit like a snapper.
Do I? This is good. This is tasty.
Yeah.
I've never thought of eating these.
Yeah.
You actually introduced me to edible plants around the Eyre Peninsula.
Yeah.
Back when we shot some of that stuff for you, going around and harvesting some of the
I think
local produce.
but most people have got no idea of just how much fruit or how much really tasty edible stuff is on the coast, especially a few hundred metres up to the cliff line that it's super concentrated. But there's literally tons of it December, January.
Do you feel like that's like the case for the entire coastline?
I don't know.
Or is that more concentrated to this region?
Possibly. I haven't really explored much past Venus Bay, so I'm not sure whether it's a rainfall thing. Obviously around here it's around 400 mils. It gets dry as you go up, but whether that impacts the how much fruit is available. Natives are really hard to predict in terms of what makes them fruit and what makes them miss. They're quite cryptic compared to, say, an orange orchard.
Yeah, so I guess just cracking into it. Welcome to the show. Thanks for letting me pin you down and pry information out of you for 20 minutes.
That's fine. You'd sit there and drink your whiskey and ask me questions.
Yeah, no, cheers. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I guess for those who are unfamiliar with you, what would you describe yourself as?
Cool.
What's your job title?
A shearer with a broken back. Trying to spruik grog at the moment. But,
Off grid.
Yep. I guess by now you'd say we're definitely in that role of distilling or being a distillery. But that's certainly not how we set out to do things. It was more of a being stranded on a bit of coastal bush during COVID, and it's just slowly evolved into something that's probably a little bit more definitive now.
Was Coffin Bay Spirits a COVID project?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. This is, you got bored and you're just like...
No, we didn't get bored. We just started playing with stuff. I mean, we came from a desert ecological knowledge background, and I think when we were sort of stranded on this piece of land here that we realised we actually didn't understand much about it. So we became interested, and that's when we started noticing just how many tasty things were in the bush and in the ocean. And we started making bathtub style gins, just, steeping stuff and for our own enjoyment. And at the same time we were sending, botanicals and bits and pieces to top end chefs. Yeah. And then at some point we developed a recipe, which we never released because we couldn't prove whether it was safe or not. There's a few really yummy things down there, but we've got no idea whether they're safe or not. So that one's on ice. And then, we developed another one. Yeah, next thing we were meeting with a designer and getting a brand and a label, and it sort of grew from there. But it wasn't sort of it was very organic how it came to be, for sure.
Yeah. And so delving into your background a little bit, you mentioned you used to be a shearer and live up in the desert, and now you're right on the coast. Whereabouts are you from, and how did that lead you to here?
Well, I did the high school at Cummins, so this area feels like home.
Yeah.
Before that, further north, and then before that, APY lands. So I think, growing up in APY lands pushed me to sort of get back out in the desert. Years later to sort of reconnect with that landscape and people, and that was really rewarding. But since doing high school, I sort of felt like this area was our base. Yeah. And Cara and I have always been strongly drawn to the coast. We just love being on the coast, really, immersing ourselves in the bits and pieces of it.
Yeah. And so at what point in time did you and Cara get this block of land?
That was, so we were setting up a land management program at Oak Valley at the time. I think we put in an expression of interest. When was that? Roughly 2017. 2017, I think. Yeah, then COVID came along, what was that, a couple of years later, two or 3 years later.
Yep.
And we had a little caravan here, and just sort of went from there.
Yep. And so now you got home here, and you've got the distillery all up and running. When I first saw this space, it was completely bare and empty, and there was nothing in it. You had the slab down.
Yep.
I think you had the outdoor veranda.
Yep.
Or awning space.
Yep.
Up, but this was pretty bare bones in here.
Yeah, it's taken so long. It's been, I saw a postcard that we produced the other day, and it said, like, had a little flyer thing on there, and it said, cellar door opening 2022. So it was, we've underestimated how long this will, this has taken, for sure. But it's, we're really happy with how it's come.
Yeah, no, I'd say it's pretty incredible. I'm just, I'm reflecting back to when we sort of first got in touch and started doing a bit of work together, and your process of making your gin and going out and actually getting all of the resources to do that, all the produce. It's all just sourced by you and Caro.
Yeah,
and I guess when something that I find really interesting is like, a lot of the bush food around here and the edible vegetation. Where do you get the information? How did you learn about what was edible or what is edible and what isn't?
That's been really
what was that process like? How did you figure that out?
It was eclectic. It wasn't there hasn't been one main source of like a mentor or a book or a website that we could just sort of go to. From other places that we've worked, you could just ask a local elder about the particular plant you'd be interested in and find out from there. Here it's probably knowledge isn't quite as accessible.
No, it's
in this
not.
area. So it was really a case of species by species, finding out what already exists on it. Is there accounts of it being used for either traditional use or colonial, use? Does it grow anywhere else? Like the nightberry, for example. Checking that's edibility. I don't know if is that a word?
Edibility.
But and found out it's actually an important food source for a lot of the southern hemisphere. So that was an easy one. But there's other more cryptic stuff like Dianella or Templetonia, where there can be conflicting accounts.
Is Templetonia edible?
Again, there's conflicting accounts. So there's some which we're more than happy to experiment on ourselves with, and then others that we're probably more prone to try and experiment on other people before trying it ourselves. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. And with your gins, with a few of the different ones that you produce, you actually source seaweed as the botanicals.
Yes. Yep.
As one of the botanicals in the gin.
Poisonous seaweeds. Seaweeds are generally a really safe direction in terms of edibility. So that's where we felt we could explore with greater comfort.
Yeah.
From there, it took probably about 3 years to get the PIRSA or fisheries exploration permit, and we had to narrow that down to 8 families.
And how was that process?
That was really, it was just tasting stuff. And then if it tastes amazing, does it wash up for once a month and then disappear? It was sort of a couple of years of, is it easy to access? And PIRSA and fisheries were fantastic in encouraging us to sort of really explore.
That's good.
Try a free license to really sort of try different things and different harvest techniques, that sort of thing. So by the time we got to signing the permit, that it was something that really suited our business. So.
Yeah, with that process, I just imagine you calling up someone at PIRSA, and for those who don't know, PIRSA is Primary Industries and Regions, South Australia. PIRSA essentially is responsible for managing all agricultural and aquaculture activities in the state. So I just imagine you calling up PIRSA one day and saying to somebody over the phone, "Hey, I want to start collecting seaweed."
Yep. Yeah, they
to put in gin, and
at that point, that's when they get interested.
Yeah,
as soon as alcohol's involved. So I think look, there's a few exploratory permits. I think they were really keen to back this because they believed in I guess the business model, or the fact that we were really going to use this. This wasn't a concept that we would get the permit and then after 2 months give up on it, because there's a lot of work on PIRSA's side, and you've got to find someone who is happy to champion you in the process. Yeah. And luckily within fisheries there was a couple of people that really came on board and said, "Hey, I think this is a great concept." From their end, they're thinking this is a underutilized resource,
and it's relatively low risk as well.
Well, I mean, compared to us saying, "Hey, we want an exploratory permit strictly for blue groper," we're talking about a really small amount of seaweed in the scheme of things. I think it's just over a ton per annum.
And generally speaking, so with the collection process, I've seen it in action firsthand. You going out and harvesting from the reefs just in front of your house.
Yep.
But you also collect from the beach as well.
Yep. So that's rack. So it's rack collections when it's on the beach. And that's fairly specific. It's got to be above the high tide line, but as close to the high tide line as possible. And basically what, from a habitat point of view, is taking stuff that isn't going to become part of a habitat. So, hooded plovers, for example, they eat the little insects that nest under seaweed. So it's stuff that basically has been deposited but likely to go back into the ocean. Yeah.
And if it's sitting there, it's at a point where it's going to start degrading anyways.
That's right.
If you don't take it and dry it out.
Yeah. We've actually found that the best rack, best quality rack, is actually on the rocks. It's clean. It's not sandy, and it's generally less likely to become, habitat style rack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where would you describe where the distillery is located and where you harvest from?
Oh, yeah. I mean, locally, you'd refer to this just as Frenchman's or Mina or, that sort of area. But in terms of taking a license from Coffin Bay, I guess, the main view is the Coffin Bay National Park and Coffin Bay proper. Harvesting-wise, we've actually got to take 50% equally between two zones. And one is, I think it's zone 1, or might be zone 2, is sort of out the back of the national park, and that extends up to Point Drummond. Yep. And then the next zone is from Point Drummond to basically Scale Bay. So it's a massive area. Obviously, we've learnt with rack, for example, the winds, tides, times of year, there's concentrated little deposits in different areas. But when we dive, that's obviously more predictable. That's about the season and the type of bottom, all that sort of thing. But yeah, it's been fascinating. When you see the seasons change on land, it's the same underwater, but probably more rapid, and there's probably a lot more seasons.
I think it's the marine ecosystems that we have here are extremely dynamic.
Yep.
And they do go through various changes, just like seasonal changes, like how we have on land. As far as the diving goes, do you normally dive by yourself? Do you normally go with Caro? Is that
no? Normally by myself, or it's nice to obviously to go together because it's something we both enjoy doing. Yeah, obviously the last 2 years has been a large increase in shark activity along here, so that's definitely in our minds, and that's affected where and how we go for sure.
Yeah, the reefs that you have just nearby where you do some of your harvesting.
Yep.
Some of them are relatively shallow, safe spaces. I feel like where we went and filmed the bit for High Tide and for Air Coastal, that was relatively, it was maybe a meter or so, 2 meters deep.
Yeah. No,
I feel like most of the spots around here would be pretty.
There's plenty of areas where, they're fairly protected that you're not. I don't think we're really taking any risk at all. It's when you see a dolphin buzz around you and you think, oh, there's a fair bit of water that dolphin's in. I'll head back in a bit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about you, but do you? Well, you're probably not your average person when it comes to risk, but
no, I think
I feel a lot safer on top of the water than underneath. I think.
Really, I feel. Well, I don't know, because I don't really think about when I go surfing. I went out to surf for a surf at Clayton's today, and it's just like didn't cross my mind.
Yeah.
I feel like I think about it more when I'm underwater, because I can just.
Well, you can see your imagination starts. You can sort of see drop-offs. You can see shadows. You can see all sorts.
You see something like passing by the corner of your vision.
Yep.
Just in your peripherals, and it's. Yeah, I feel like I wig myself out more when I'm underwater, but. That being said, I also feel more like from a logic point of view, I feel safer underwater. Yeah. At least when I'm on scuba.
Yep.
But I think you're right. I think there are probably more risk adverse people
than yourself. Yeah.
Myself.
Yeah.
But no, that's it's interesting. I guess something that I'm really curious about too is you've set up a distillery in the middle of nowhere. So to speak, we're on the west coast of the Eyre Peninsula. Coffin Bay itself has a population of 600 people.
600, isn't it?
It's just about 600. And
you
would be, are you technically in Colta here?
The postcode is, yeah.
Postcode is Colta?
Yep.
So, and the population of Colta is,
I'm not sure.
A couple hundred maybe?
No, I'd say.
If that?
Could be 80, 60.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
What has that process been like for, I guess, developing a business? In the middle of nowhere. I mean, I guess we're not too far away from Port Lincoln. You're about an hour?
40 minutes.
Oh, yeah, 40.
Yeah, I think in some ways it's been easier. In many ways, actually, it's been easier.
You don't have to deal with suppliers for your
Well, yeah.
you got that right.
Yeah, materials can be a challenge.
Still got to go out and get it.
Yeah. But I'm picturing trying to set up, say, a distillery business in the city of Adelaide where you're, leasing a building, access to the building, compliance. The council here have been absolutely fantastic and supportive. They've all worked that.
No one's got an issue with you make your own hooch in the bush.
Well, I mean, we're all compliant. It took a lot of work. The ATO, the Liquor Commission, and then obviously the council. But no one's looking over our shoulder. No one's coming out to sort of drop in and check what we're up to. So we've sort of managed to just work away here until we finished it. And it's some of the places we've worked at, this place doesn't feel that remote, really.
No, I suppose that's fair.
And I get stressed when I'm in Port Lincoln at the stoplight. So
when you have to go through the
traffic in Port Lincoln. Yeah.
I'm starting to feel that too a little bit. Yeah, it's nice not having any traffic stops in our neck of the woods.
Yeah. Going back to seaweed, do you understand? I mean, I'm sort of always coming at it from a flavour, and there's definitely some science there that I'm interested in, but you're much more into the science.
Yeah, well, I think I'm into both. I don't think of myself necessarily too much as a scientist.
Yep.
I think of myself more as like a dive bum who's sort of
interested in stuff,
yep. And who's made a career out of getting to just have sort of hobby projects going around. But no, I think like, so with the work that we do, we have to double check it and make sure it's current. We've had permits in the past to collect algae for the state herbarium. So yeah, we've brought stuff over to the state herbarium, and the SA Museum did a specimen lodging over there pretty recently. What I find so absolutely fascinating about seaweed is, one, their application. There's so many amazing applications for seaweed that are coming out now, like alternative plastic products. Food. I mean, it's not that it's that crazy. Like, there's plenty of plenty of cultures that use seaweed as a primary food source. I think it's great that it's becoming more mainstream, and we're seeing more of it in different places. But what I find so fascinating about seaweeds and algae is that there are so many varieties of them. Like we've got the reds, the greens, and the browns, and between each of these different families, there's hundreds. Yeah,
we've got some books over there, and they're very thick. So a question I had for you is how, you're doing your reef restoration, and obviously the reef then gives the habitat with the seaweeds and seagrasses, etc. How dependent are they on each other? Is the reef just the bones and then everything else grows on it, or does being able to have a successful reef depend on, a bit like, say, there's specific plants down here that hold the sand dunes together. Are there seaweeds that will therefore...
Same. So oyster reefs and algae, certain types of seagrasses, are very complementary. In the sense that oyster reefs, they help stabilize sediment. So when you have, we've had a century of dredging and destabilization of the seafloor, creating silty, sandy bottoms. And what we're finding in areas that have high densities of species like razorfish, for instance, razorfish are coming in, and oysters are able to settle on the sides of them. And what they're doing, they're filtering algae and they're pooping it out. So they're creating a type of, it's what you call a pseudo feces. And in a way, this helps by creating a more fertile type of soil, right? So by one, having structure on the seafloor, whether that's a species like a razorfish growing in the sand, or by placing, shell structures, recycled shell structures on the seafloor, you're able to stabilize that in a sort of local area, and then you have new life grow on it. So you have new oysters grow, and other shellfish species, or filter feeding species like mussels or cockles sort of move in nearby, and then they help stabilize the surrounding sediment. The area at Long Beach, there's a
I've seen it.
Out at Long Beach.
And
that wasn't there 20 years ago.
Wow.
If you look at satellite imagery of that, it was just this big sandbank. And what's happened is razorfish have come and settled in that area. Now it's become, this massive, it's not just razorfish, it's now, razorfish and cockles and oysters and seagrass.
Would you say that razorfish are native or naturalized?
It's an interesting question. I think as far as razorfish goes, I know a lot of anecdotally speaking, a lot of like older generation crew would say, oh, when we were growing up here, there were never razorfish here, which seems like a bit of an insane thing to me, just because there are native populations of razorfish in places like Venus Bay and Streaky Bay. And then you also have native populations of them in places like Adelaide and Upper Spencer Gulf.
And Port Lincoln area.
Port Lincoln and up around Whyalla as well. And so for them to not be around Coffin Bay seems a bit unlikely because they are endemic within the state. I totally understand, and I 100% believe people when they say
there wasn't when they were around.
When they were around, there weren't as many. But also at the same time, what we've seen over the past 100 years is, since the dredging occurred of the native oyster beds, is the sediment becoming more destabilized. Right? There's more traffic in the bay. There's more use on local resources. There's more tourists that are coming here than ever have been. There's more coastal development that's going on. And so we're starting to see the impacts of this. Razorfish are a species that thrives in softer sediment. And we've only seen our habitats become siltier and siltier and siltier as the coast has eroded. To say that they weren't here before is a bit silly. I think razorfish, they definitely need to be more looked after than they are. I think a lot of people now treat them as a pest species.
I wondered about that.
They do, and people have been ripping up razorfish beds. But the thing is that what we're finding with oyster reef restoration is that they're a species that are naturally encouraging native oysters to grow. And that reef that we found sort of just out from Long Beach, that extends all the way into Yankee now. The razorfish there's all the way into the mouth of Yankee Bay.
Yep, I've seen that. And I wonder whether one day the up and coming oyster reefs will eventually choke out the razorfish.
You can only. I mean, eventually that's what's going to happen. We've started to see that happen at Long Beach a bit.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think when we talk about ecosystem restoration, or when you talk about oyster reef restoration, it's not just about the oysters.
Yep.
The oysters, they're a fundamental, keystone species that plays so many important ecosystem functions, but we're going to see other adjacent benefits to various other family groups because of it. So I think, that's kind of, I don't know. I'm feeling helpful about that, and it's cool. Like we have local examples, that we can look at.
Well, it's exciting too that you actually get to see a lot of this change. It's not generational, or it's not if we do this now, that in 20 years we'll see a bit of an impact. You sort of see it within a year or two.
Yeah, I mean, I've been here for it's the end of 25 now. I've been here for permanently now for 5 years.
Yep.
And the amount of change that I've seen at a local level has been, immense. We had a couple of our experimental reef bags placed on the seafloor a couple years ago. And they're still down there.
Is that the ones you got in trouble for?
No. They're ones that we, which time?
Oh, I can't remember. It sounded like a funny story though.
What was your recollection of that?
No, I can't. I'll have to think hard, but it was basically a non-permission thing. But I mean, end of the day, who cares? Look where it's got to now.
Forgiveness, not for permission.
That's right.
Yeah. No, we so I think when we first started running our project, when we were investigating the feasibility of bringing back native oysters, we went around Coffin Bay and collected a bunch of Ngazi shell from the seafloor, because we found all these buried reefs around the bay, literally hundreds of thousands of oyster shells buried under the seafloor. And we went around and picked a bunch of them up off the seafloor so that we could use that for an experiment that we were running. And when we did that, and when I think it was either Pursa or DW found out that we were dropping a bunch of shell on the seafloor, they were like, I think they hit the panic button a little bit, because they thought we were deploying Pacific oyster shell, which at the time we did, we're going through the process of getting our permits to use Pacific oyster shell, because Pacific oysters, the ones that are farmed in Coffin Bay, are a Japanese species.
Are they?
Yeah, they're from Japan, the Pacific oyster. And because of that, because there's such a large industry in Coffin Bay around oyster farming, they're really worried about POMS, Pacific oyster mortality syndrome, and so they didn't want us just going and potentially spreading disease around the bay, sort of thing.
But once it's just a shell, can it carry disease?
Yeah,
it still can.
Yeah, it still can.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's actually guidelines that we are following for desiccating, for sanitizing and cleaning the oyster shell before we turn it into our reef units.
Yep.
So we have to let it. We can either basically boil it for a certain amount of time, or we can let it sit in the sun for about 6 months.
Yeah.
But with the Ngazi shell that we used for an experiment, because it came from the habitat, because it came from underneath the sand, we were able to just deploy it.
Yeah.
We didn't need permits to do that.
Yeah. I wonder if you could get some of those.
We needed permits to do it. We didn't need person permits.
Yes. Yeah.
But no, it's it's crazy stuff. There's a lot of good stuff that's happening.
Oh, it's really exciting. No, I can't wait to see what happens in the next 5 years, and it'd be really interesting too to see as the systems in Port Douglas and Yangin, all these reefs start to grow back, whether it's got an influence on the waters and species and that sort of stuff out here.
I feel like out here you have really clean water. Like you don't have any of the issues that Coffin Bay is having at the moment with their water quality out here, do you?
Not that I know of. I mean, it's
every time I've been out here, it's been pretty clean, and I know it gets stirred up every now and then with the weather, but.
Yeah, it's been the really big temperature swings over the last 24 months that has had the biggest impact. And
have you noticed many, just in your time going out and collecting seaweeds and beachcombing, have you noticed a difference in the habitats or the ecosystems that you regularly interact with?
I haven't been interacting with it long enough to sort of, it's changed. Every single day is different. Every single day the swell has a slightly different direction, the winds a slightly different direction, the tides. Every single day there's something different washing up. And obviously there's cycles that we've started to notice, but I think that would be many lifetimes to really
get a grasp on it.
And I'm not very good at recording either. Retain, a little bit of information in my head, but I think because there's such variation, you'd have to take many years of recording similar conditions over, decades to really sort of start picking nuances and life cycles.
Yeah, you should write a book.
You should write a book.
No, you've got heaps and heaps of time.
Yeah, that's right. No,
it'd be fascinating just to start, putting some of that together.
Yeah.
So I guess as just to close out, what's in the future for Coffin Bay Spirits? You got some new gins coming out. Some new.
Well, we've got
products?
we've got whiskey that's been ready for a while. We're just we need a bottle soon. We've got some fantastic projects that I guess have been years in the making that had 95% there. So this next 12 months. Hopefully we can sort of settle into this space. It's fantastic to see people come and visit and be able to interact with the landscape. That's really our mission, is to sort of have people come here and just enjoy themselves, learn a little bit more, taste some fantastic stuff. But for us, I think it's settling into the distillery and keep experimenting, keep finding, really cool stuff to play with and working out a way to get it in a bottle.
Yeah, no, excellent. Thank you for coming onto the show, Desi. And I guess for anyone out there who is interested in tasting some of this amazing gin that you make, where can people get it from? Can they order it from your online shop?
From the online shop. Well, it's probably most likely in the local bottler. So some of the stuff won't be, but
I know you're in the local bottlers here around the Eyre Peninsula. Are you in the Adelaide bottlers?
Yeah, we're in a bunch there. Yep.
So mostly in South Australia.
Yep, 100%. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So for anyone who's not in South Australia, go to Desi's website. I'll put it in the show notes, and give it a whirl.
Enjoy it.
And that concludes our interview with Ben Deslins, aka Desi. Huge thank you to Desi and to Caro for being just really good mates over the past few years, and for having me at their distillery and for letting me chat with them. If you haven't already, go and get some Coffin Bay Spirits products. They've got a few different gins that they make. They're all delicious. And if you ever get the opportunity to check out the distillery, if you find yourself on the Eyre Peninsula, definitely get in touch with them and try to get up there, because it's an incredible venue. Now, it's the end of 2025. We are not going to be putting out any more interviews for the rest of the year, but we will be putting out some updates on this podcast feed about the oyster reef restoration work that we are doing. Air Lab, in conjunction with Adelaide University, is doing a whole bunch of restoration and monitoring work across South Australia, and we've got a bunch of really exciting things happening with that. We're going to be putting out dedicated updates right in this podcast feed. So if you want to stay up to date with what we're doing, make sure you follow, share this with a friend. That also really helps to get the word out. And I hope you guys all have a really productive and happy New Year. We'll catch you then. Cheers.